You can generate your final report several ways, and one of the options is this ArcGIS Story Maps. You don't have to use it, but it's a useful tool, especially if you're going to be working in an organization that has an enterprise level of ArcGIS, because you'll automatically get access to these tools. A lot of advantages to using ArcGIS Story Map. Now, storymaps.arcgis.com is the URL, or you could just do a search in ArcGIS Story Maps, click on it, it'll give you this sign-in page. Now you need to sign in first. In fact, you need an ArcGIS online account. You can get one of those accounts very easily by signing up, and since you're in the University of Minnesota, you have access to the full set of options, opportunities, tools that they provide. So if I click on the sign in here, it'll take me to my account, and I'm at the UMN account, and I've signed in recently, so it gives me this authentication, but it may remember my credentials. If I hadn't signed in recently, it would ask me for the usual X500 username and my password at that UMN authentication, then kick me to this page. I've created a story map and published it here, and this is the sort of thing you'll want to do. I've added elements here, text and graphic elements primarily, but I can also add in URL links or other things. And so what you would do is generate a series of images, JPEGs or other small format images, to make it easy to load and fairly quick from your ArcGIS layouts or maps. And I can go over in a separate video how to generate those very quickly. I then added these basic pieces of information in one of their standard layouts and create my story. Now in this case, it's fairly simple and straightforward. I just copied some of the stuff that I had in my introduction or in my other information that I've provided you in the introduction. Remember at the start, I had this picture of a rain garden and the various other mitigations you could use in a short description. You would basically have the shortest of descriptions here because it's in the context of this class. In a real story map, you would have some background to say what it's about, and maybe some images at the start to set the stage. In my case, you can just say this is my report because it's for my consumption, or you could make it more involved if you want to share this with somebody else. Basically, I just want to see the various tables and output figures for your base case and mitigation here in your report. And if you do it in a story map, then you have to generate and put them here. Well, how do you do it? You edit your story. And so I'm going to use this relatively simple one, but maybe not. Maybe actually I'll go back and I'll start one from scratch. So I add a new story, and I can pick the kind of story I want. So it launches this story builder, and you have to pick a design at the start. There are 3 main designs they provide. There are actually others available. You can have navigation bars across the top that'll be stationary, credits at the bottom or not, and you have various themes you can pick. I'm just going to go with the base one at the start, and I'll use the sidebar design because that's the one I like. I add images by clicking, or text by clicking in these either preset or added areas that I can create. So first, to work on a preset. So if I just left click here on this add image, it asks me to browse my files and bring in an image. So I'm going to bring in an image here from my 4295 story map. I've created in advance this area where I've collected images that I want to include. So you would create a directory most likely and export images of your various maps or layers that you've generated. It's better to put images than PDFs, because if you put PDFs, then there's a PDF viewer that has to launch, and it might be easier for you to begin with, but everybody that uses it is going to have to wait all those times. So use images. So here's an image that I picked. It's the shed map image at the start. No, I don't like that one. I can go get another image. Oh, this is the one I want, this watershed image. And so I'll add that, and it gets fit to the space quite nicely. I can title my story 5295 final results or report, and I would type something more descriptive but not very long for you folks and give my name. If you do a story map, you have to let me know that you've done that, and then email me the directions to your story map. I'll show you how to get to that once you've published it. And so there's this headings bar, which I created in part of my design description. I tell my story by adding text or maps or images. For the most part, you'll add images and text. Text describing what you have coming below, and then an image that's an export from one of your layouts or one of your map views. So to add text, you simply click on the plus button, select the kind of text you want. In this case, my first text is going to be an introduction. And notice that if I type a heading, it shows up here in my navigation bar. So this introduction then, if I just hit return, I can add additional text. And so again, this is, or features. In this case, I'm going to do some paragraph text, and so that's fine. And so I click in and say, here is the first section. I would type something descriptive, and I will add after this whatever image goes with that. So this first section might be, I had base runoff levels, and here's what they are. And so I might want to accompany that with a map, in this case, that I've exported as an image, and place that map then in my story map. And so it shows up. Now I have various ways of formatting the map. I'm sorry, in this case it's an image, but the map as an image. And so I basically can format and wrap text and do those sorts of things by clicking on the feature and then selecting the options. The other thing I can do is, in some of these, if I hover over it, I can drag it and reposition it. So I can basically pull it above or below what's already there to reformat my document. Again, I can add other things, video, audio, you probably won't. I would stay away from adding maps because this actually creates map from an ArcGIS online set of data. You could, if you want to experiment at the front, it's of limited use to us because in this kind of report, we're really not going to be doing much in the way of drawing features or pulling up data. But in many kinds of reports or many kinds of ArcGIS online story maps, you would want to show various locations. For example, if you had data from all around Minnesota, you might interweave maps to show where these new locations were in the data that came afterwards. I'm going to cancel out of this and not add a map. And then let me just go back to my draft map and start editing it. Now, there's lots of other interesting things you can do. So, for example, if you go down below, there's swipe maps you can add that allow you to do things side by side. I'll let you experiment with that. If you have issues, we can go over it. But for example, you could load the canopy map on either side and swipe back and forth to show the new canopy. That would be an interesting and fun thing. You can do these sidecars, which give you these sort of floating panels. So again, I'm add media, and you've seen these before, I'm sure, in the ArcGIS storyline, story maps. So let me see. I don't have the image I need here. The images have to be fairly large, and you'll see that when you go through it. But I'll load one. Sorry for this detour. And so I'll add this image, and it shows up here. And I can basically, across the bottom, it shows the order. So I can do images where they change as a slideshow, or I can have images and text that float across each other. So I can do interesting things where I had sort of one data layer and another data layer to map of the same area, and they'll meld between each other, and I can change the text that goes. So I could say, here is my first text and image, And just to click on the plus here and add the media, I add the same map again, the image I should say again, it would be the map in your case if you wanted to juxtapose two maps. I could say basically, here is my second text. Right? And so when I'm done with that, then I can go on and continue with my story and add more text. Right? And then we can see if we preview this, then I have my final results map and I have the images interlaid, and here's my first text, and then I drive down to my second text. So you can see how you can do very interesting overlays, because these images, if they're for the same area and you have a slight change as the new text comes up, it goes from one image to another basically in a fade, and so you can see the new features pop up. It's been used in a lot of ArcGIS story maps. I'm sure you'll see it if you go around now. Now, once you're done with this story, you want to publish it, right? So here's my story. I'll go ahead then and publish it for everyone eventually. Right? So I'll publish the story. And then I have my story map here. I can get a link to my story map, right? So I'll copy the URL, and that would be the thing that you would provide to me.